All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Uh, had a technical difficulty there, but we are back. As you were saying, Amon, about talking about the Dolphins draft picks.
Yeah, man. I was looking at these draft picks, and it's just a theme. They're addressing the trenches, and they're addressing the trenches. Because league circles, or not league circles, but the fan base is like, Miami's a soft team. They pretty, they flashing. They ain't got no physicality. So I'm looking at these picks, man. I'm looking at Kenneth Grant, interior guy, physical. Jonas Avenir, interior guy, physical. I'm looking at Ollie Gordon, big back, 6'3", 220, 230 something, physical running back. So I mean,
Mm.
they're trying to change the mindset of how people think of the Miami Dolphins, going Jordan Phillips in the trenches, physical. Zeke Big is our Georgia Tech, physical. So they're trying to change the mindset of the outside perception is Miami's a soft team, Florida team. They don't want no smoke when they gotta go to Kansas City. It's -3 or Baltimore or any of those cold weather places. By adding in the trenches, getting you a bigger back, that's going to play this year for you. That's the theme of this 2025 for the Miami Dolphins that I see on paper right now for these with these draft picks.
Yeah, that as you was talking about going to Kansas City, those type of games where super duper cold weather, you got a big back like Ollie Gordon. He doesn't even need to be your bell cow. Just
Nope.
short yardage situations. Move the chains, goal lines. He can punch it in. So that I did like that part about their draft. The Quinn Ewers pick, as you said, like you wouldn't be surprised if he could be started due to Tua and his health situation, and then look challenging him for the job right now, Zach Wilson. So we've seen enough Zach Wilson, but then again, new new city, new environment could spark better play. So uh, yeah, I think the Dolphins did fairly well for what they did in addressing the needs that they need to address in the draft.
Yeah,
Uh, you
I
ready
do
to go
think
to the next one?
one more thing on the Dolphins. I do think they got Jonas Savania in second round, pick 37. That was a trade they made with the Vegas Raiders. They gave up. I think they gave up two third round picks to go up to move back to 41 or in the 40s to go up against Jonas Savania. So I mean, they actually could have had more than however many picks they had, but they wanted that physical presence on the offensive line. So they gave up pick 90, 99, and one other pick. So Jonas Avenir was originally supposed to be picked. That was Vegas slot, but that was a trade there, and Miami went up and got that guy. So, but yeah, man, I do like and Jonah. So that's a big get for them. He will start for a job this season.
Yeah, I feel like he will too. So we'll see what happens. Is Mike McDaniel on the hot seat?
Um, yes, yes, yes. Because if you are, and if you are, you traded for Tyreek Hill. You gave Jalen Waddle a deal. He's making 25. Tyreek's making 30. Um, you are the guru that was under Mike Shanahan, the Shanahan tree. So you got all this fancy misdirection, this. You got Jalen Ramsey. You had Christian Wilkins. You had Jalen Phillips is coming off a torn ACL and back to backs, or torn ACL or torn Achilles, one of the two, back to back season. You had Bradley Chubb. You got Zach Sealer. Um, yeah, man. I mean, time to put up now, man, because you can't say that you didn't have what was required to get the job done. You had it. You just kind of fell short, and you're always chasing behind the Buffalo Bills now. So I mean, yeah, you're on the hot seat, man. You gotta make a deep playoff run. You've been to the playoffs, and you always stomped your toe against a cold weather team like Kansas City or something like that, or Tua got the bubblegum arm in the cold weather. He just, they just don't play like they're skating on ice when they go, in the playoffs. So yeah, I think he's on the hot seat this year. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't finish the way that they would like, that they clean house and start over. But that's one to keep your eye on, going into the season and towards the end of the season.
All right, we'll see what Miami does. And right now, we're going to go to the New England Patriots, the last team AFC East. We're going to go to the New England Patriots, which I felt like they had a pretty damn good offseason, man. I mean, you
Yeah,
already got your quarterback of the future, who you draft. You got that out the way last year. Uh, this year, made a couple key free agent signings, and then come in the draft. You take care of business first round. You go offensive tackle Will Campbell, who said he will live and die by protecting Drake May, and you can bet your dollar on that. Uh, Going back into the second round, moving to the second round, pick 38, they take Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. I was surprised they went here. What about you?
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at them taking a running back in the second round because it's this draft class is all about Drake May, of course. So Travion going at 2 in the second round. You go back get Kyle Williams in the third round, I believe. Yeah, Kyle Williams in the third round. You're doing everything that a rookie quarterback or a new coach going in needs to get the best out of his quarterback. I'm looking at the Will Campbell pick. I mean, start off. Sorry, excuse me. Let me backtrack. This was my favorite class out of this division because they had a plan. They know what they needed to do, and they got they got solid players throughout this draft class. Like I said, I'm starting to talk with Will Campbell. Everybody questioned his arm length because you kick him inside. And I heard this on I'm gonna give credit when credit is due to another guy that's on the podcast, Keith Sanchez. I'm gonna give him credit, man. He says, you drafting Will Campbell at 4, it's not a big of a deal what his arms is, if it's 33 and a half or whatever, 30, 31, whatever the number was. If he don't work out at offensive tackle, you slide him in the guard, you got an all pro guard. What I'm saying, who cares, like what, what people say. You play him, you put him in that spot and you play him until he prove otherwise. You know what I mean? You put him there until he prove
Yeah.
you that he can't be a tackle. And then you come back and you get Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. And and this is I heard this on another show as well, and it made perfect sense to me. Mike Vrabel, he was on that team when they had Tom Brady had like James White and Kevin Falk. So, Travion Henderson can be Drake May's Kevin Falk, like Tom Brady. I mean, like Tom Brady was when he had Kevin Falk. That what Travion Henderson can be. Then Kyle Williams could be your down the field stretcher. And you got Jared Wilson in Georgia. He's a starter in the SEC for 4 years, so he has pedigree and experience. And then you come down the line, you get Joshua Farmer from Florida State in the 4th round. It's solid defensive tackle. And then you come down in the 5th round to get an underrated pass rusher in Braden Swinson that I think flew under the radar a little bit this year. And then you come back and you get Julian, is it Ashby out of Vanderbilt, the long snapper. I think he's probably the only special teams player they got drafted. I could be wrong, excuse me about that. But, yeah, man, I think they have building blocks in place for Drake May and address some major needs, offensive line, wide receiver, running back. Because, Ramondre Stevenson, he has fumbling issues. So, I mean, I can definitely see Travion taking over this thing, week 8, 9, if everything ain't looking too good with Ramondre. So, yeah, this is probably my favorite class out of the whole division right
In a very interesting pick too, because you know how they use Ramondre in the running and the pass game, and like Travion can do the same damn thing.
here. Yep.
They also have Antonio Gibson, another back on the team that can pass. I mean that catch passes. So I see what they're building here. I just didn't think it was going to be Travion Henderson's direction that they were going to go into. But overall, great pick. And then Kyle Williams, which I think is going to be Drake May's probably best target. Basically, he's
Yeah.
been doing things that Jalen Polk should have been doing.
Yep. Just think about it. They still got Jalen Polk. They still got Keyshawn Butte. And think, back to the Travion Henderson pick, man, like, you got to get explosive. And I think New England was one of the least least explosive teams in the league last year by adding
Very
Travion.
boring.
Yeah, and by adding Travion Henderson, they're definitely going. They're checking boxes, and that's all you want to do is check boxes in this thing. Hey, I got my tackle, I got my explosive running back, got me another receiver. So I love it, man. I love what the Patriots did, man, for sure.
Absolutely. Sixth round. I don't know if this is the first that we've seen this out of a team, but to take a kicker in the sixth round and then take a long snapper in the seventh round, it seems very New England.
On par.
it doesn't. It doesn't matter who the coach is, whether it's Belichick, whether it's Mayo didn't even get a fair shake. But now with Vrabel coming in there, basically bred in New England when it comes to playing professional ball. So he knows that place pretty well. I trust him that he knows what he's doing up in Foxborough, trying to build his new regime. He gets a second crack at being a head coach, leading a team.
Yeah,
So overall, go ahead.
yeah. I would say, yeah, man. He getting a second crack of being a head coach, and how the don't too many people get bites at the apple. But you gotta also think about it, man. Who's the OC? Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator there, and we all know from our past experiences with our teams how that worked out. He was there 1 year in Vegas. He's gone. And he had Denver a long time ago, and you know how that worked out. And we all know he's a better OC than he is a head coach. So he's back at home. He's back in his natural, surrounding. So I mean, Drake May should take a big step this year, and we should start seeing that 2023 Drake May in North Carolina here soon. So I'm definitely excited for New England.
If you look at the weapons that he has, right? So you added Kyle Williams through the draft. You already have Demario Douglas, who was probably your leading receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Then you pick up Stephon Diggs. Yes, he's coming off of the injury. So who knows with that? You still have Kendrick Bourne there, who you can only use him for like for a certain thing. You can use him for like over the top. You got Mac Hollins, one of the best uh, role player receivers out there, especially when it comes to he can block, he can do the dirty work.
Yeah, that man out there with
So
no.
and you also got Keyshawn Boutte, who it was wild, man. And then you like you say, you still got Jalen Polk, and who's got to step up this year. And then you got Keyshawn Boutte. Also drafted Javon Baker last year. So that wide receiver room is loaded over there in New
Yeah.
England.
Mm-hmm. And I forgot all about the Diggs signing until you said something. So I mean, yes, I think it's a 3 year, $69 million, $70 million, but it's actually a year-to-year thing. It's like 1 year with incentive. So I mean, they can definitely come off Diggs, after this year if they want to, and not be hurt cap wise. So yeah, man, I think like I said, the wide receiver room's loaded. They reshored the offensive line because they drafted one, two, three offensive linemen in this draft, and we know if your quarterback is not upright, you don't have a chance at all. So overall, I give the New England Patriots once again a solid grade for me, with this class.
That's two straight draft classes where they've been somewhat good. So I mean, it definitely include this year. So definitely look forward to New England improving. Also signing guys like Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis.
Mm.
I think what was Jabril Pepper? No, he was already over there. He was already there. Uh, Milton Williams, another one. Harold Landry, another one. So New England definitely gonna be improving this year. And
Naturally.
don't forget, you already got Christian Gonzalez over there, one of the best young corners in the game. So we'll see what the Patriots do this year. I'm looking for improvement. Ready to jump to the NFC East?
Yeah, let's jump to the this the one I'm most excited about. Yeah, let's jump to the NFC East.
All right. What team you ready? I'm gonna let you pick the team.
Let's start with Dallas. Let's get Dallas out the way because they're the most talked about franchise. Let's just go and get them out the way.
Start with Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys. All right, the first round, pick 12, offensive guard Tyler Booker out of Alabama. And we touched on that. We'll touch on that in a little bit. Let me just run through the picks. Second round, pick 44, defensive end, Donovan Ezaraku out of Boston College. Third round, pick 76, quarterback Siobhan Revel out of East Carolina. Fifth round pick 149, running back Jaden Blue out of Texas. Another fifth round pick 152, linebacker Shamar James out of Florida. In the sixth round, you grab a Johnny Cornelius, offensive tackle out of Oregon, at pick 204. And then three seventh round picks, 217, you pick defensive tackle Jay Toei, whatever that is. How do you say that?
I'm with you. Yeah,
Toei?
we're gonna
Toei?
leave it
He had a UCLA. And in
there.
the seventh round, 239 running back Phil Maffa out of Clemson. And pick 247 defensive tackle Tommy. I had his name at the tip of my tongue. I had it right because I just watched the video. But he's a defensive tackle out of Maryland. I love his tape. A King Bas-
I, yeah, that one right there is stomping me too. So
You good?
yeah,
Yeah.
that name was stomping me a little bit.
Yeah, but that's Dallas's picks this year, and we can't forget that they made some news this past week, signing a wide receiver from Pittsburgh, trading for a wide receiver out of Pittsburgh, Mr. George Pickens. So overall, what you think about the Cowboys draft?
The first three, four picks, I love them. I well for Tyler Booker, what I have liked to see him. If Tet was there at number 12, that would have been his home run. Hindsight's 2020 now. They have George Pickens now, so you never would have seen that coming. But if they could have had got Ted at 12, I think that would have been amazing. Um, but still, nevertheless, with Tyler Booker, can't be too mad at it because what do Dallas do great? They draft and develop offensive linemen. So you always got to hit on your first round picks regardless. So Tyler Booker's going to be the next one of them lineage players that's going to come in, start day one, and give you 10 plus seasons of solid production and probably hit a couple Pro Bowls and all pros if you really hit his ceiling. In the second round, Donovan Ezaraku, probably my second favorite pass rusher behind Abdul Carter in the draft. I think he led the nation in sacks, or if he was tied for the lead in sacks last year. He's just he can bend that corner like Abdul. If the names were reversed, you would take Donovan Ezaraku top 20 or whatever the case would be. But to get him in the second round at 44, I thought that was excellent value. And to get Siobhan Revel, coming off a torn ACL last season, so he missed the majority of last year. To get him in the third round at 76, I think that's a heck of a value. Is going to come in and compete right away. 6'3", long corner, can play press man a little bit, can play in zone. He's going to fit that scheme. They're running a little bit in Dallas for sure. He's definitely gonna fit right in and get Jaden Blue, which is a change of pace back out of Texas. He has 4.29 speed. It showed up at the combine and it showed up on tape as well. So he's going to be a definite upgrade in the running back room. And and Johnny Collins, I think he was Cornelius. Sorry, I think he was a right tackle at Oregon last year. He played solid, so he'll be some depth along the offensive line. And seventh round pick Phil Moffitt, once again, 6'2", 6'3", 225, bricked up, solid guy. Run between the tackle guy. This will definitely give you that hammer that you may need. So definitely, solid class. I love 4 or 5 of these players that they got on that team a couple weeks ago, and yeah, if we want to add George Pickens to this trade here, yeah, man, there's no excuse now for Dak. You got CD, you got weapons, you improved the your offensive line and your defensive line, you got secondary help. Um, I wonder if Siobhan Revel, he's going to be a long term play because you have Trayvon Diggs and you have to decide if you're going to play Deron
Yeah,
Bland. So I mean, hey, yeah, it's going to be interesting in Dallas, but I think they have one, two, three, definitely got 3 starters in the first 3 rounds of their draft this year.
yeah, definitely. Um, I can definitely see that running back room is crazy. So you got Javante, you got Miles Sanders back there, Jake Blue, and Phil Moffitt.
Mm. I can see Miles Sanders being the off man.
That's that's a crazy room, bro.
Yeah. Oh man, that might be Miles Sanders.
Nah, man,
Yeah. I could be wrong, of course, but
you know, he's been having injury issues throughout his whole career. So I definitely feel like he can make the roster though.
yeah, I mean, yeah, he can make the roster, and I mean, if you want to put Jay Blue on teams until he gets comfortable in the system, but I can see Jay Blue getting some burn um, this season. I think that speed is undeniable, and they haven't had that speed since Felix was it Felix Jones and what's the other back that was there with Felix Jones, Thomas Jones or Latavius Murray, one of them, but the cat out of you remember Felix Jones out of Arkansas years ago, long time ago. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. Who was your guy? He was running Big Fat.
Yeah. He was the running mate of Darren McFadden at Arkansas. Yeah, he had that quick as a cat. So yeah, man, I could definitely see Jay and Blue plucking in lineup and giving them that change of pace that they most desperately need.
Does Jaden Blue? Does his the? Well, I'm gonna say it kind of reminds me of uh, the things that they could do with him. Jameer Gibbs,
I can
like how
like
you,
a poor man's Jameer Gibbs.
yeah, potentially catch. He can, he can rush the ball, of course, but the different things that you could do with him, the different schemes, and like where you can put him. Like like you said, poor man's Jameer Gibbs.
Yeah, I can see a universe to where something like that will happen. I can buy into that.
And then the defensive line, like their stat, you look at it like they signed Dante Fowler back after being over at Washington for a year. But you still got Mozzie Smith over there, Solomon Thomas, you signed in the offseason, Osa Digazua, who signed a big contract this offseason. Um, they are stacked in their defensive line, just depth, and depth.
Mm-hmm. And then
Traded for
linebacker,
Kenneth Murray as well. Go ahead.
I said that linebacker room, that's a little shaky. But you took the words right out of my mouth. You said I wanted to say they traded for Kenneth Murray, but
Yeah, traded for Kenneth Murray. You still got Parsons over there. The Murray Overshow, can't stay healthy to save his life, but maybe this is the year. And then a guy that they drafted last year, Barris Louisville from Notre Dame. I watched his tape last year, and I thought for sure like he was gonna blow some stuff up, but it's still time for him to do that. And in the cornerback room, you got Deron Bland on one side and Trayvon Diggs on the other. And then you traded for Kaya Elam, who gets a fresh start, as we mentioned earlier. Chavon Revel, we'll see what position he'll be in when he goes there. So yeah, man. Cowboys, I think they did very well. Jerry can't go into this season. People can't look at Jerry and say that you haven't done anything.
Yep.
You know, not the same old Dallas Cowboys, the quiet off season. Like they had a pretty noisy off season and they made some pretty damn strategic moves, man. So we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, man. It's I know last year people, say that most time people say Jerry hadn't done anything, man. All to be all in. They went on and got Gilmore and helped the secondary out a couple years ago. They went on and got Cooks to help him out, years ago. So you can't. I mean, the excuse that Jerry's not all in. Jerry has got this team help. Is that they've come up short in the playoffs. And everybody gonna point the finger at Dak Prescott, rightfully so. I understand, but this right here, going to get Pickens and giving up what you're giving up. Of course he's gonna be a contract. He's only 24. He's only 24 years old, so he can sign a 3-year and still hit the free agency again in his prime at 27. So he's going to get his money. I just think you don't make a deal like that and not have a contract assigned to it. And like I told my homeboys, Parsons is up, Pickens is going to be up. So Jerry's going to have to spend some money here in this coming up year or so to make sure this roster is where it needs to be. But once we get to the Steelers in the AFC North, I got a theory about why they did what they did and giving up Pickens, and so I'm gonna save that one for that episode. But yeah, man. But like I said, to recap the Dallas draft, I think they did well. And if you want to add Pickens to this mix right here, I think it was A minus, cool for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they did very well. Very, very well. You ready to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, we're going to touch on the New York Giants here.
This might get dicey.
So the first pick at pick 3, it took defensive end Abdul Carter from Penn State. Circled back into the first round, 25th overall, to select Jackson Dart, quarterback from Ole Miss. In the third round, pick 65, defensive tackle Darius Alexander from Toledo. In the 4th round, pick 105, running back Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State. In the 5th round, pick 154, offensive guard Marcus Bimbo from Purdue. In the 7th round, pick 219, tight end Thomas Fedone from Nebraska. And 7th round, pick 246, quarterback Corey Black from Oklahoma State. I just want to say the Giants, I know I always had them high every year as far as like a team to sleep on. But when you got a defense like this, the potential that they have with, Lawrence up the middle and Kayvon and who's my other guy? Oh, Brian Burns, and then this defensive line is crazy, bro.
Yeah, then you go out and you get Javon Holland from Miami. Yeah, man, you upgraded secondary, you upgraded your pass rush. So yeah, man, it has on paper it has the makings to be a good, good defense. But like I said, I like what they did in the first round, picking up Dual Carter. You just prospects like that caliber, you just can't pass it up. You just can't. You just run the card up fast as you can. Then going to get Jackson Dart. It could just been a Shador spot potentially, but I thought it was a Shador spot. But once you start, reading stuff and how interviews went with Brian Dayball and the offensive staff, and you're starting to hear a little stuff leak out, and you you have the general manager won one quarterback, and you got the head coach won another quarterback. So apparently, I think the final trigger man on this one, I think Dabo had the final say so on this one. But because I was under the impression of what I was hearing that Dabo wanted Jackson Dart and Shane wanted Shador. But nevertheless, they set it on Jackson Dart. Everybody says Ole Miss, offense is gimmicky or whatever the case may be. But Lane Kiffin, he can dial up some players, get some people open. That's for sure. And then you get Darius Alexander in the third round to pair beside Dexter Lawrence, give your defense more beef in the middle. That's a lot. Great pickup, and you get a. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I leave it all on the field guy, Cam Scatterboo, in the fourth round. Which he was the most popular running back going into this draft cycle. He has day 2 grade, second round grade, third round. I think he's properly slotted in the third round. Him and Tyrone Tracy back there, they're going to be some fun to watch this year. I think Tyrone Tracy's going in as RB1 this year, rightfully so, to get Cam
Yeah, he
Scatterboo.
deserved it.
Absolutely. And, Scatterboo can run the ball between the tackles, catch the ball. So I like what the Giants done. If I do have one question, I would go back and ask um, why not Shador to come back up in the first round. But other than that, I really have no issues with what they've done. Everybody know that this draft class is the make or break draft class for Brian Daboll and that regime. So hopefully Jackson Dart can make Daboll look right this year going forward. Not to mention they do have Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston in the building that are savvy vets that has won in the league, that has thrown touchdowns. You got Mr. Jameis Winston 30 for 30, 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions in the season. And then you got Russell Wilson. He's won your Super Bowl. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. Mr. Unlimited. So he has 2 good quarterbacks to learn after in the classroom. So it'll be definitely interesting to see where how the Giants shake up. They're going to be more competitive in the NFC East. I'm not sure if they finish 4th place. I might have another team finishing 4th place. Depends on how circumstances shake out. But yeah, man, this is a make or break year for Dayball and Shane. They could be out of jobs next year, looking at 2026.
The NFC East is going to be one of those divisions that's going to be like red hot, and you don't know what's going to happen because we saw Washington emerge last year, and they can't get any worse. Look who's at quarterback, and then you got Dallas. They're bringing in a weapon that we just talked about. Philly, we'll get to them in a minute. Philly, we'll get to them in a minute. But considering like what the Giants already got over there with what they have on defense, and then like the possibilities of a young Cam Scatterbo, and then you got a Tyrone Tracy. I think Singletary is still there too, if I'm not mistaken. But
yes, he is from Buffalo, right? Devin Singletary.
yeah, so
yeah, he's still.
But everybody still gotta they still gotta put it in training camp. We'll see if he makes the roster or whatnot. Malik Neighbors, 1,100 yards last year. If he had him a quarterback, it probably would have been more. If he has Jameis Winston throwing him the ball, and which, all right, who I know we don't know this right now, but if you're going into the start of the season, your quarterback of the New York Giants would be who?
Russ.
It'll be Russ.
It'll be
Okay.
Russ.
And I get that, and I get that. That would probably be everybody's choice right now. My choice would, believe it or not, it would probably be Jameis. But it's like if you want to win, you're gonna go with Russ, kind of in a way, until he screws it up. But Jameis could possibly keep you in the game. He could possibly throw the game away.
He can give the game away too.
Yeah, yeah. So imagine if Jameis is throwing him the ball. Malik Davis probably had about 2,000 yards.
Well, he'll have that pop, like he'll have that Brian Thomas of, he'll be in that saying, dang, he had a Brian Thomas type season. Not to say that he wasn't, Brian Thomas had Trevor Lawrence throwing to him, and Malik Neighbors had Ben DiNucci throwing to him, or whoever, Tommy Cutlets or whatever his name is. So I mean, there's apples, there's not comparables, but yeah, if Malik Neighbors had better quarterback play last year, definitely he'll be in that. He would have been more in that rookie of the year conversation, like Brock Bowers and Brian Thomas, and he definitely would have been there for sure. Marvin Harrison Jr.
There could be also be a situation where Jackson Dart could be starting, and Jackson Dart does seem like a Brian Daboll type of quarterback. Brian, he just wants to throw that thing down the field.
Yeah, a little athletic, got a little talent to his game, can move a little bit, got a nice size arm. So that's why I was like, yeah, when this pick came through for me, I was like, and I'm just thinking, this had to be a Daboll pick. You know what I'm saying? Gotta be.
Yeah. Look what he did for Josh Allen. Don't get no better than that.
Yeah, it went from completing 56% passes, 56% of his passes to Wyoming to like 60, 63% of his passes his second, third year in the league. It's there, man. He can do it, man. He's a genius, like on the offensive side of the ball. And then he was a OC at Alabama under Nick Saban for a little bit. So it's there, man. You got to get his guy. And I think, him taking the Giants job, he never had a fair say or fair shake to get his guy. And if I'm gonna go down swinging, we can disagree. If I'm gonna go down swinging, right, I want to go down with my guy. You know what I'm saying? My pick. You know what I'm saying? Because he didn't draft Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I think he did.
So you know what I'm saying? So this is what I got.
He took him to the playoffs, though.
He took him to the playoffs, but Daboll didn't give him that contract. That wasn't that was Shane that gave him that contract, and they finally realized, this ain't it. So I mean, this ain't he ain't it. But so now he has his guy. If I'm gonna go, it's like me. If I'm going down with the ship, I'm gonna go down with my guys. You know what I mean? We're gonna sink. We're gonna sink with somebody that got my back. I ain't going down with somebody that I ain't picked. So yeah, man. I think Daboll, like you said, would Dart start? Probably not. Is he the long-term answer? We hope so, for sake of Daboll being there. I just don't see him touching the field right now. We'll see how mini camp and training camp plays out. Can he push for QB2? Yes, but I ultimately see an experienced guy in Russ starting this year because they want to. Mayor already said he wants to see a winning product on the field, and I feel like Russ gives them the best chance to win games and compete in that division right now.
John Mara is hungry for some success, and if he doesn't get that success this year, somebody's gonna.
Yes,
somebody's gotta go.
Yeah, the U-Haul will be packed up, or the movers will be Manhattan for sure, wherever they reside
at. As you said, also signed Javon Holland in the offseason. Yeah, the Giants look. The Giants defense looks a little scary there, man.
Yeah, man. On paper.
On paper.
it looks kind of scary, but offensive line they signed Jermaine Illuminor last offseason from Vegas, gave him a 2-year, $14 million deal, so he's in the last year of his deal, I believe. And then I don't know if Evan Neal's still on the roster. I know you got your boy Thomas from Georgia, he's still there. So there's some, could be some movement going on the offensive line. So you could draft Marcus Bowe in the 5th round. He could be a starter for you, push for a spot, come camp. So yeah, man, and that's the Giants draft, and in a nutshell, we'll definitely see how this draft shakes out, this class is. But it's going to depend on Jackson Dart, because we all know what a dual caller is. He is what he is. You know what you're going to get with him. And let's say if you don't got a quarterback, you don't have nothing at all. Trust me, I know.
It's crazy. Evan Neal is like the third. He's like the third offensive guard behind Marcus Imbo and Greg Van Roten.
Right, he was the top 6 pick.
Exactly. That goes to show that you can go from here to here in a matter of years. Hell, within a year.
Yeah.
So that is the New York Giants draft. We're going to go to the Washington Commanders real quick and touch on their 5 picks that they had. And I feel like they nailed on those 5 picks that they had. Starting in the first round, pick 29, they went offensive tackle Josh Connolly Jr. They're really high on out of Oregon. In the second round, you pick 61, you pick Amos, quarterback out of Ole Miss. In the 4th round, wide receiver Jalen Lane from Virginia Tech. In the 6th round, pick 205, Cade Madrano from UCLA, linebacker. And in the 7th round, pick 245, running back Ja'Cory Krosky Barrett out of Arizona. I loving the first 3 picks for Washington here, where you get offensive line help, you get another corner on that side. With they traded for Marshawn Lattimore last year, thinking that was going to fix some of the issues, but Marshawn Lattimore did not look like the same quarterback that he was. Maybe that he could turn that around this year. But then you pick up Trey Amos, and then Jalen Lane, the wide receiver out of Virginia Tech. I love that pick right there. You add to the wide receiver room, which already has Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel now added over there. What do you think about the Commanders draft right here?
Trenches. You go out and you give up. I don't know what they gave up for Tunsil, but you have your All-Pro left tackle for the next 2-3 years, and then you come back and you get you a right tackle, Josh Connolly, that's fluid, smooth right tackle in the first round. Then you come back and get you a starting corner in Trey Amos, the pair beside Marshawn Lattimore and Mikey Sanders still to fortify that secondary. Still got Bobby Wagner in the middle of that defense. He's a Quinn guy, so he'll still be there. And then you come back and get, like you said, Jalen Lane in the 4th round, which I like Jalen Lane. I didn't see too much of him, but when I did see him, he seemed like he jumped off the screen a little bit. He made plays for Virginia Tech. So yeah, they didn't have a treasure trove of picks. Adam Peters, he comes from the San Francisco 49ers, so he knows how to build a roster. And yeah, man, you see, he's in the trenches. If you take Tunsil and you take Connolly, his first 2 picks, major players that he's got, in his building is offensive linemen, and we all know Jaden Daniels is the future for sure. I would like to see him get a tight end, because Zach Ertz, he's 35, 34, 35. He's up there. He's not going to play forever. There might still be some trade candidates or, some camp cuts that may come available. They may pick up somebody. They got Ben Sinnott from last year from Kansas State, so he's, should play a bigger role this year. And on the defensive side. I was just about to say his name. Yeah, yep. So on the defensive side of the ball, man, Quinn's going to put his imprint on the team for sure. And yeah, man, I expect them to take another leap. I don't think there's going to be a sophomore slump for Jay Daniels just because of how he started and his composure and knowledge of the game at a young age. So I'm right back there with the Commanders, man. Yeah, they didn't have a whole lot of picks once again, but the picks that they did have, they are players that can fill key roles for the team that they desperately need, and they upgraded those at those positions.
Yeah, and going back to that tight end spot, he's Zach Ertz. He getting older in age. Behind him is John Bates, and then you got Ben Sinnott, who was drafted last year. Ben Sinnott, I feel like it's going to be my dark horse for the year that could have like a pretty upward year, a very positive year. So it just adds another weapon for Jaden Daniels. You still got Brian Robinson Jr. there, Austin Eckler. We'll see how that tandem goes into the next season. Michael Gallup also signed there after taking a year off. You still got Luke McCaffrey who made some plays there. So like they're offense, Noah Brown's still there. Well, he just came there. So like they got some stuff over there, like what they did, add to the offensive line. Sam Cosmi, one of the dogs on that offensive line.
Paid, didn't he?
Say it again.
I think he got paid, I believe.
I believe so. He might have. And then going to everything from like the defensive side of the ball, adding Javon Kinlaw. I know he was supposed to be a little better than I thought he was going to be a little better than what he is right now in his career.
Yeah, I thought
considering that he was drafted he was drafted up there.
Top 15, maybe 12th overall in his class. I think it was top 15.
He was a 14th pick.
Yeah. In what, 2022, 23?
Yeah, he was something like that. He was the 14th pick. It just not enough production. So like basically he's going to the same GM now, but that GM, I guess he was an assistant GM at the time in San Francisco. Kinlaw was drafted there, so he got some familiarity with him. And then, as you touched on, with Bobby Wagner still playing at a high level, Quan Martin still there, who was drafted a year ago. Was it a year or a year or two ago?
It was
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
But and then Mike Saber. Yeah, 2 years ago, Mike Saber's still over there playing good ball. So I like what they did in this draft, especially with the top 3 draft picks, and then with the Kane Madrano pick. I mean, it could be a nice depth guy as well as the running back. So we'll see what happens with the Commanders.
Yeah,
you overall you like what the Commanders did?
Yeah, I like what the Commanders did, and I'm sitting here looking at their draft picks, and you see in first, second, fourth, sixth, seventh, and you see there's mission draft picks in the middle, right? You're like, where your third round picks at? That's what happens when you hit on your quarterback. And you got that guy, you can afford to go out and allocate more resources to proven players in the league that can possibly get you over that hump. And they were so close last year. That's why their draft class is a little smaller, because they allocated resources to Deebo Samuel, Laramie Tunsil, Marshawn Lattimore. So, I mean, these are proven guys and got to play to some big games in the league. So, yeah, I think the Commanders did well with what they had to work with this draft cycle.
They took I don't want to call it Howie Roseman approach, but it kind of reminds you of something like that. Now, it's not quite Howie Roseman, but it's like you're sacrificing picks. You're trying to win.
Absolutely.
So that was the Washington Commanders draft right there. And 2, speaking of Mr. Roseman, his Philadelphia Eagles. I feel like another phenomenal draft by these guys. Like the rich just keep getting richer. Uh, Coming in at pick number 31 in the first round, they picked Jahad Campbell. Why did he even fall here? You know, a linebacker out of a linebacker out of Alabama. And in the second round, pick 64, safety Andrew Bukuba out of Texas. In the fourth round, pick 111, defensive tackle Ty Robinson. They keep stockpiling on these defensive tackles. They just keep doing it. Defensive tackle out of Nebraska. In the fifth round, pick 145, quarterback Mac McWilliams out of UCF. In the fifth round, pick 161, linebacker Smell Mondon Jr. out of Georgia. Uh, in the fifth round, pick 168, center Drew Kendall out of Boston College. Also in the sixth round, they had 4 6 picks. Also in the sixth round, they picked 181. They picked Kyle McCord out of Syracuse. Pick 191, offensive tackle Miles Hinton out of Michigan. Pick 207 in the sixth round, offensive tackle Cameron Williams. So they're added to that offensive line room out of Texas. And then defensive line, sixth round pick Antoine Powell Ryland out of Virginia Tech, who I like. So now he gets to play with some dogs. And I guess the rich get richer, as I said about Philadelphia.
Yeah, man, the rich get richer. With Philadelphia, it's ridiculous. They got like 4 6 round picks, and then like next year they're gonna have 12, 12 picks in 2026. So like, it's ridiculous, man. They know they're gonna have because they're gonna have comp picks from losing great players going to other teams. So they're gonna have them. But yeah, I like the Jahad Campbell pick. They tried to get up a little. They tried to get ahead of the Chargers or either the Chargers to get him. But Chargers stuck and took Omarion Hampton. Second round pick. It was who was the second round pick again?
Let me pull it up.
Andrew Makuba from Texas. Andrew Makuba, the safety from Texas. He could play a little nickel. He's physical. He's gonna come up and pop you. He's gonna hit you. So I can see him playing some safety. I can see him playing a little bit of nickel for them as well. Fourth round to get Ty Robinson. I watched Ty Robinson in the Big Ten. Nebraska. I keep forgetting Nebraska's in the Big Ten and at the Big 12. Watched Ty Robinson this year. Big guy. He's like has that Fletcher Cox, a little bit of Fletcher Cox in him. Has a motor, can go, disruptive. And then you go in the fifth round, you get Smile Munden out of Georgia. And I meant to say his name's Smile. I heard the other day, Smile. It's spelled funny, but it's Smile Munden Jr. out of Georgia, linebacker. Going back to that Georgia will again, it's something about Philly and Georgia. I don't know what it is, but everything they touch out of Georgia, it turns to gold. And then you get your center Drew Kendall out of Boston College that has some good upside, depth piece, can spot start, and some spots for you. And then you get Kyle McCord, somebody else to bring in the quarterback room to develop for a trade chip piece down the line, or just in case you want to. Stranger things have happened. You want to move off Jalen Hurts, so I'm not saying they will. Philly, Eagle Nation, or Philly. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, stranger things have happened. And then you go and you get Miles Hinton in the sixth round. Just played a Michigan national champion. Has football in his DNA. His dad was a former offensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken, in the league. And then you go get Cameron Williams that had a little bit of first round buzz early in the process last year with Kelvin Banks, but he kind of cooled off, because of play last year. And then in the sixth round, you get Antoine Powell Ryland from Virginia Tech, a little undersized, 6'2", but he comes off the edge. He's explosive, so he'll be definitely rotational depth pieces for them. And I can see him making the practice squad or even getting a call up if somebody's injured or going or suspended or whatever the case may be throughout the season. So yeah, typical Howard Roseman draft. Just finding great players, all of them down each round. trying to wheel and deal. He always looking for a trade. Even though he swapped, it wasn't no need, but he had so many picks. He swapped one spot with Kansas City to get Jahad Campbell, even though we all knew Kansas City was taking the offensive tackle to help Mahomes. He swapped one pick just to say he got treasure trove of picks, man. I mean, I guess when you're the Super Bowl champions and you're coming in with 12 picks to pick right after you won a Super Bowl, what can you do to stack depth on the roster? Because your roster's going. If you have a good year, not saying you win a Super Bowl this year, but you go 12-4 or 12, whatever the 12-7, whatever the number is, then can't forget how many games there is this year in the league now. But teams are going to poach your roster, and so you got to have pieces behind them to come in and step up and take your spot, because you can't pay everybody. You wish you could, but you just can't. So overall, typical how we draft. Players get to him that you don't expect players to get to him, but it's what he do.
How do you? It was something that we was just looking at. Something that you just said. Oh, Kansas City. So Kansas City sitting at 31, and you're at 32, and Kansas City's taking an offensive player. Why even go through all that to draft him?
I don't know. I don't
know.
I don't know. It's like are you afraid that are you afraid that somebody's going to come back in the first round and get Campbell? That's all that I could think of. That's somebody that was probably picking like the Browns. They could have, they took Schlesinger at 36 because they had been the team that come up and got Campbell at 31. I don't know. You just don't know. You know what I mean? So if you're targeting a player, I can see why you only give up a 5th round pick to swap one spot. The only thing I can think of that you had intel that somebody that was picking in the 2nd round might want to trade back up into the 1st round to get Campbell to get that 5th year option or whatever the case may be. That's the only thing I could think of. But this is Howie being Howie. Like I said, he can do what he want to do. Because everything he touched works out. And you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's my only logical explanation or reason why he did that. Could be wrong.
Man, Howie is the man, man. Even from signing like Saquon Barkley, look what you got out of him. So definitely got the New York Giants looking crazy out here. We'll just go to like their roster real quick. Some of the other moves that they made. But it doesn't get any better than adding 2 defensive linemen, to just keep that thing stockpiled up. Trying to pull this roster up here.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it
up. So you got Moro Ojomo, Ty Robinson, who they just drafted, Jordan Davis, Byron Young, Jalen Carter, Thomas Booker. Nolan Smith. Look at all these Georgia Bulldogs, bro. Jalen Hunt. How are you freaking?
Who in that D-line room going? You don't want to let none of them go.
No. And who's to say during the development process that they can't get anything out of Powell Riley or the 4th round pick Ty Robinson?
Yeah, man, it's spooky.
Like you said, you can't pay everybody. What if everybody's good?
Call him comp pick Shorty over there in Philly, man, because he got. Look, think about it, man. He got 12 next year, 11 next year. He ain't got to do the same thing all over again.
And I know these are depth guys at this point right now, but signing Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche.
And Uche legit. Uche came from New England. He legit. He can go. BJ can too. Both of them can go.
Yes,
So you so you
Aziz.
so you pretty much traded Josh. You pretty much swapped out Josh Sweat for BJ and Josh Uche and paid them a fraction of what the Arizona gave Josh Sweat. They excuse me. I think Arizona gave Josh Sweat 4 years, 76, something like that.
Yeah,
Get your money
yeah,
at
he got
home
it
test.
bad.
Yeah, he got bag. He got the bag. But yeah, man, it's just we can go on days for days talking about Philly and how they roster construction. Because Jalen Carter coming up. Uh, he coming up. They still got we ain't even say Jordan Davis. We ain't even say Jordan Davis name. Um, yeah, it's
It's
oh
it's
not
it's it's crazy.
the whole secondary is like 24 and younger. Besides like Blankenship,
Reed, I'm about to say Reed Blankenship. Still out there making
they got Sidney Brown. I think he's like his second or third
uh
year.
Quillian Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. You don't even have to worry about them for the next
10 years.
oh God. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Eagles just I could definitely see them in a, that's the reason why they play in the end of the season and why other teams don't.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got a few more tricks up his sleeve. They just gave I think they reworked Goddard's contract for this year to make him happy. So they're definitely gonna move on from him next year for sure.
Who was that?
Dallas Goddard. I think they reworked his deal for this year, gave him some more money.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
his probably his last year, in Philly for sure.
They had a phenomenal offseason. I think they traded. Did they trade for Kenyon Green?
Yes, they traded for him.
For
He came over. He
yeah,
came
for the
over.
Texans.
He came over. I think he came over in a trade for right when Tunsil went to the Commanders. I think he went before that, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. And think about it, they had
Bro, they got
McConnell back then. He went to San Diego, and they plugged him, replaced him with Kenyon Green. Just crazy.
bro, they got AJ Dillon.
Yeah, he's backing up Saquon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's spooky out here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Now I can.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like the Eagles are gonna be continue to fly around here, man. Just remarkable job of what they do in the free agency and the draft process is it's just too much to break down right now. But that concludes all the teams, right? We got through all the teams.
NFC East, NFC East, and AFC East.
Yeah, we got two. No, we got four divisions to go,
Mm-hmm.
and we're gonna try to come to you guys tomorrow or sometime this week. We definitely coming to you.
Yeah.
But sometimes life be life, but we gotta get over that and hop to it. But Washington, my bro, filling in, you know what I'm saying? Like, doing what he always does. And for Larry Patterson, GT365, thank you for tuning in. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And until then.